are new, right? Our new agents or our agents who have been in Aflac who are fighting to stay in the business, fighting to be able to get your first account or be able to establish yourself within this career. And so it all starts with prospecting, right? You cannot earn a commission if you can't prospect, schedule a meeting to get in front of a decision maker to eventually enroll. And so that's very important. And so that's the reason that I talk a lot about prospecting. And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about prospecting, but specifically, I'm going to talk about the follow up process to prospecting, right? Because you're out, you're knocking on doors. Hopefully, you're making the phone calls. Hopefully, you're getting your gold standard where you're making at least 100 approaches per week. But now, what do you do with all those leads, right? How do we follow up with those leads to ensure that we're moving them down the pipeline? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to talk about once you do get to a situation where you're able to schedule a DM meeting, what now, right? How do you prepare for that? What are some of the essentials that you need to be able to be prepared for that? And so I'm going to walk you through that as well. Let me go ahead and mute everybody out here. If any of you have questions, literally just go on there and unmute yourself. All right. So everybody hear me good? Give me a thumbs up if you hear me. Yeah. All right. So let me share my screen here with you guys. So all right. So hopefully everybody can see my screen there. Eric, I see you on the screen. Give me a thumbs up if you see my screen. Yeah. All right. So we've talked about prospecting, right? So all the leads that you're calling on, right? Whether it's over the phone, whether it's in person, in the beginning, when you make that initial contact, they're just leads, right? We don't know. You might, I had Robin in the office today making calls. Again, congratulations on your first DM. But she was telling me, I've called some of these leads and they're not even businesses anymore. We don't know, right? We're calling on businesses. We don't know what to expect yet. We haven't qualified. We're barely making the initial approaches. And so you're going to have a list of leads. And when it comes to leads, you want to be able to diversify. I hear a lot of people asking me about Data Axle. Data Axle is great. But you want to be able to diversify and be able to pull leads from different sources, right? So Data Axle is one. There's also obviously the internet, right? There's Google. There's a lot of different websites that I'm sure you guys could probably find better than I can, where it'll give you information on businesses, right? And so now you're gathering all these different leads, right? And so you're putting them into what we call sales funnel, right? And so in the beginning, they're just leads because we don't even know if they're interested. We don't know if they even qualify. Do they even have 3 employees? We don't know who the person to talk to. We don't know anything about them in the beginning. And so all of a sudden, they're just leads. And so this is where the beginning of prospecting starts, in that you're gathering your leads. Once you gather your leads, now you're reaching out to them, right? You're reaching out to them in person. You're reaching out to them over the phone. Those are going to be your main primary ways. But then there's also going to be, email. There's going to be different ways in which we communicate. And as I've mentioned to you before, once you start once you start the initial contact, once you start the follow up, you have to be able to follow up in different ways, right? You can't just be calling every single week, calling, and expect to get through. You have to be able to mix that up, right? So it might be calling one day, it might be visiting them in person another day, it might be shooting the guy an email, it might be dropping off something. We're going to talk about that. And so you got to be able to communicate in different ways, because think about yourself, or think about somebody that you communicate with often, right? A lot of times you'll have I'll have, for example, friends of mine who, if I call them, they're always busy. They'll never take my phone call. And so I can call them all day and they'll never take my phone call. But if I shoot them a text, they'll find a couple of seconds to answer me via text. Right? Have you guys had that experience where somebody might not answer you, but they'll answer you via text? And then at the same
That
time,
actually has happened to me multiple times.
say that again.
That actually happened to me the other day. Like everyone, especially like my generation, like a younger generation, is more receptive to texting rather than calling, because calling is just like, for one, you get spam all the time, but like a text is more, it's more, I should say, like intimate. Like it
Yeah,
means more because you actually
and
have
it's
to
more direct too.
have the time to, yeah.
And it's more direct. And keep in mind, we're calling on businesses, right? So text may or may not be an option depending on what contact phone number you have. But the point is that people communicate in different ways, right? There's people who you'll business owners, right, that you might reach out to, and you might not be able to catch them in person, or might not be able to get them on the phone, but they'll answer your email, right? There's some that'll never answer your email, but if you stop by, there's a good chance that you're going to get in contact with them. And so my point with that is that you have to be diverse in the way that you communicate, and diverse in the way that you source your leads. And so when we're calling on leads, right, in the beginning, we're just qualifying. We're calling on leads. We're calling on leads, and of course, we're playing the numbers, right? This is a very simple business if you keep it simple, right? You're playing your odds. The more businesses that you call on, the more opportunities you're going to get to get in contact with a business owner. The better chance you're going to have to schedule a meeting, and the more meetings you schedule, the better chance you're going to have to get enrollment. And so just play your odds, right? And so that's why that cell funnel starts, fat in the beginning, and then it starts to narrow down, right? And so now we start to call on leads. And now the ones that we're able to talk to and qualify, now they're becoming prospects, right? So you might, Dean, you might call on a business, and you're finding out, okay, well, who do I need to speak to that handles employee benefits in your organization? And they tell you, oh, well, that's Mr. Eric Yang, but he's not in the office today. You need to try him you need to call him back tomorrow. He'll be back. And so now, I'm qualifying. Now I'm finding out, okay, who's the person I need to talk to? In this case, it's Eric. And then I'll usually always try to ask the receptionist his or her name, right? And by the way, what's your name? Oh, well, this is Ophelia, right? And you want to be able to get them as an ally, right? And so now you're finding out more about them. And now I'll go as far as asking, well, by the way, how many employees does Eric have? I just want to be able to. I was looking to get on his schedule. I want to be able to get him the best information. How many employees does he have? And she might tell me, oh, well, we have several locations. He has 100 employees. And now in my mind, I'm like, oh, all right, this is a great lead, right? And so now they're turning into prospects because now I have intel on them. I know who to talk to. I know the receptionist. I know how many employees they have. I know that they're a legit business that I could follow up with. And so now those are becoming prospects. Right now that they're moving down the pipe, and they're moving through the sales funnel. And so in the beginning, that's what you want to do, is you want to qualify as many leads as possible, because check this out. 2%, if you look down to the bottom there, okay, 2% of all sales are made on the first contact, right? So in our case, when we talk about sales, we're talking about moving them down the sales pipeline. So in this case, scheduling appointments. So in our world, 2% of appointments are going to be scheduled on your first call. Okay, on average, first call. If you schedule it on your first call, good for you, right? It might be your lucky day, right? Again, the more calls you make, the luckier that the more chance you're going to give yourself to be lucky. But again, we're playing our odds, right? We're keeping it simple. 3% of sales or appointments are going to be scheduled on your second contact. 5% are going to get scheduled on your third contact, and 10% are going to get scheduled on your fourth contact. But almost 80% of all appointments are going to be scheduled between the 5th and the 12th follow-up. Between the 5th and the 12th follow-up. So what does that mean? What does that mean? That means that we already know when we're walking into a business, that we already know when we're calling on a business, that this is just the beginning of the process, right? And what a lot of agents make the mistake is that they go out 2 days prospecting, they're calling on businesses, they're walking into businesses, and at the end of the week they find themselves with no meeting scheduled, or maybe one meeting scheduled, and they start to get frustrated, and you start to feel like, man, like, what am I doing wrong? Well, you're not doing anything wrong. The problem is that you're not keeping in mind that we're playing our odds, and we're following the process. And so you're continuing to put leads into your pipeline, because those are going to turn into your follow-ups. Those are going to turn into your prospects, right? And so you just have to go into your prospecting knowing that it's going to take you, the numbers say that it's going to take you at least 5 contacts to be able to get in contact with that business owner and schedule a meeting. And so that going in, right? So you don't get frustrated, you don't get discouraged. You just know that that's part of the process, right? Again, we're sales professionals. We're not trying this out. This is not a hobby. We're not just, let's see if this Aflac thing works out and I can maybe get out of my job, hopefully. No. If you're going to be successful in Aflac, you have to be a sales professional. And sales professional, guess what? They know their numbers. And so know your numbers. And so I'm giving them to you, right? Most appointments are going to be scheduled between the 5th and the 12th follow-up. So what does that mean? That means that you got to get good at your follow-up. And we're going to talk about that here in a sec. right? And so from those prospects, guess what? Some of them are going to turn into meetings, right? So now we're going to start to schedule meetings, right? And so week one, it might be all initial contacts and second and third follow-ups, right? So in the beginning, you might not schedule any appointments, but if you continue to be consistent with your activity, week two, you're going to start getting into those fifth follow-ups, right? Week three, you're going to start getting into that past those fifth follow-ups, and those are going to turn into appointments. And so you just have to continue to follow the process, right? Trust the process. But again, the mistake that most agents do is that they get frustrated. So now let's look at the top of this. 48% of all salespeople follow up with a prospect, never follow up with a prospect. Never follow up, right? You spend all this time out knocking on doors, calling on people. You gather the information. You know who to talk to. You know who the receptionist is. You know how many employees they have. You know that they're a live prospect that you can follow up with. And yet, half of the salespeople in the sales world will never follow up even one time. Make sure that's not you. Make sure that you're a pro. You know your numbers, right? You're not just throwing shit at the wall hoping it sticks. You're following a process. 25% of salespeople make a second contact and stop, right? 25% make one follow, make a second contact and stop. 12% make three contacts. Right now we're getting into the follow up, right? But again, people start to drop off because they get discouraged. Oh, I've stopped by, I called them, and I stopped by again, and still nothing. But again, we're not even to the fifth one yet. But yet, only 10% of salespeople will ever get to that fifth follow up. Less than 10%, right? And so we have to make sure that we're getting good at our follow up. As a matter of fact, one of the leading indicators of whether you're going to have success in scheduling meetings and moving your business forward is not going to be how many leads you have. It's not going to be how many contacts you make every single day. It's going to be your active leads in which you're following up with on a consistent basis, right? Because I can have 100 leads, but if I'm not following up, I can call on 100 new businesses every single day, and you think, oh well, I'm doing great because every single day I'm making my 100 calls. But if I'm not getting to those second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh follow-ups, then I am the odds that I'm going to be successful is not good, right? I might, and what's going to happen is that if I'm making 100 phone calls or 50 phone calls and I'm not following up, pretty soon I'm going to wear myself out. Well, damn, I'm making 100 calls a day and I'm not getting anywhere. Well, that's because you're not following the process of following up, and so we need to make sure that we're following up consistently. And so this is same idea, but you'll see it on your screen there, right? 48%. Um, you'll see 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect at all. And so just start to think, what does your follow-up process look like? Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that. So in our world, we say that nothing starts until somebody gives you an objection or until somebody says no. Nothing starts, right? So when you're initially calling on prospects, right, in the beginning, it's a lot of gathering information. But then you're going to get into those second, third follow-ups where you might get somebody says, well, you know what, I already had, several Aflac people come in and I'm just not interested. Well, now we're gaining some traction, right? And most people think, oh, well, that's the end of it. That's actually just the beginning of it, right? So now we're starting to figure out how we can move forward with that, right? Because if you can't find out what people's objections are, then you're never going to get past that, right? Once you start getting into DM meetings, what you're going to find out is that we talk about the EDGE model, right? Engage, discover, guide, execute, right? EDGE, engage, discover, guide, execute. But what you're going to find out when you start to do DM presentations, when you're sitting in front of a decision maker, you have to get good at asking great questions because almost everybody is going to have an objection or a concern. But if you don't ask great questions, you're never going to find out what that is. And so what's going to happen is that you're going to sit in a DM presentation, and I assure you, if you've been in DM presentations, you might already experience this. You're sitting in DM presentation, you're giving your sales presentation, and wow, the business owner sounds like he's super interested. You're killing it. You're doing a great presentation. And then in the end, he tells you, oh, you know what, Dean, it sounds awesome. You know what, let me go ahead and talk to my to whoever, and I'll give you a call next week. And guess what? You never hear from them again, right? Or yeah, you know what, Dean? Yeah, it sounds good. Go ahead. Next, check back with me next week. Next week you call them and you never get in contact with them again. Well, most of the time that happens because there was an objection or a concern that you didn't handle at that time that you didn't even find out because you didn't ask enough questions. And so when we're doing DM presentations, and I'm not going to get too deep into this, but oftentimes when you don't get a decision right then and there is because they have a concern. They have a concern that you didn't answer because you didn't even find out what it was in the guide part. I mean, in the discover part. And so, what are some of those reasons or concerns that people have? Oftentimes, it's money, right? They don't want to move. They're afraid to move forward because they find themselves where maybe they're struggling financially, or they feel like they've looked into benefits and they didn't have the money to initially do it. Time, right? They feel like, you know what, we're super busy right now. We have a lot of projects going on. We don't have the time to do it right now. Need, right? I don't know if my employees would want this. I don't know if they need this, right? Urgency. Is there a reason why they should move forward with it today, right? Urgency. Is this something that we need at this time? Trust, right? We've talked about trust, right? You have to be able to do a great job in engaging for them that they can trust you. And so if they don't trust you, a lot of times they're not going to do forward. They're not going to do business with you because they don't trust you. And so, as a matter of fact, let me hit on that a little bit, right? Again, and by the way, guys, take good notes on this, right? If you're, I mentioned to you guys this all the time. If you're going to spend, an hour of your day, an hour of your life, to learn something, make sure to capture it because within 48 hours, you're going to forget half of what I said. And so, let's talk about that trust part right now, real quick, okay? People do business with people that they know, trust, or like, okay? And so when you're walking into that presentation, they don't know you yet, but we're gonna get to know them a little bit, and so that's where the important part of the engage part of Edge comes in that we're trying to build rapport with them, right? We're trying to learn about them, we're trying to connect with them, right? Create some sort of connection. And the more DMs that you do, the more that you're in this sales game, the better that you're going to become at that. Okay. The only reason that I've gotten good at that is because I did it over and over and over, and I got kicked out of offices, and I got told no, and I got ghosted, and I got my heart broken, and I bet the farm on something, and it didn't happen. And so you're gonna get good at rapport. So you have to first create some sort of connection so that they feel like they know you and you're getting to know them. Okay. Now, something that is often not said, sometimes some of that trust comes from just your appearance, right? So think about it. I'm a business owner. Eric, you're the agent that scheduled a DM with me. You walk into my office. Well, I don't know you yet. I don't trust you yet. And so the first thing that I see is your appearance. How are you dressed, right? Does Eric look like a guy that's dressed like I can trust him to handle my employees' benefits? And so ask yourself that, right? And so your appearance makes a big difference, right? People talk about, well, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, guess what? When they don't know you, that's all they have to go by. All they have is the cover. And so the minute you walk in that door, they're already thinking to themselves, do I like this guy? Is he dressed like somebody that I would want to do business with? Is he dressed like somebody that I could trust to take care of my people here? And so, the way that you present yourself is very important as well. So don't take that for granted. And so, so we think about those 5 reasons that people don't do business with you, or that the objections that people have. Well, oftentimes they're not going to just tell you, right? They're not just going to tell you, oh, Carolyn, I'm sorry, I don't have, we don't have the budget to do this. Well, they're not just going to come out and tell you. This is going to come by asking great questions and listening. But if I can ask a great question and that objection comes up, well, now when I get to the guide part, now I could say, well, Mr. Prospect, you know how you said that you had looked into benefits? And at the time it was very expensive because you're just starting your business and you're still in that phase. Well, let me show you how you could start a benefits program without it costing you money, with it being cost neutral to you. Because guess what? This is how Aflac works. We're able to position this to where you could be the hero to your employees without it costing you any money. But if I don't know that objection, then I can't guide them and I can't handle it in the guide part. And if you don't handle it, guess what's gonna happen? Oh yeah, call me next week. Call me next week, Dean. This is super awesome. I think my employees will love this. Call me next week. Bye. See you never again. And you're never gonna talk to them again, and you're gonna wonder what happened. Well, the reason is that there was something that you didn't uncover, that they had a concern about, that you didn't uncover, you didn't handle at that time because you didn't ask enough questions and listen. Okay. And so, again, everything starts once you get that first objection, right? And so, again, we have different pain points, right? And so, it could be money, it could be time. And so, what does that follow up look like, right? So, you walk in the first time, you're oftentimes you're going to be qualifying, finding out who I need to talk to, who's the person, who, when is he available, all of those things, right? And so, the first time, it may or may not be a hard no, but we're going to assume that a no means that you didn't get in contact with them. Okay, so no problem. So we're gonna follow up, right? And so that next follow up might be in person, might be over the phone, but at some point we're gonna start to find some of those objections, right? And so we might contact that person, and he might come on the phone and say, you know what, I'm not interested, or you know what, I don't have the time right now. Call me next week. Okay, so now we're in the follow up phase, right? And so this is just an easy system to follow, right? And so once we get to know, or once we get through that first contact, now one of the easiest thing that we can do is an infograph, right? And so let's just say that somebody tells you, oh well, I don't see the need for insurance at this time, or we don't see a need. But now you can send them an infographic, and by the way, we have all of this available on our website. On another call or on another time, I can walk you through where we have a lot of these resources, but all of this stuff is on your website. And so we can send them an infograph as to surveys or studies as to where employees feel like their employee benefits is not sufficient, and how so many employees are open and do want supplemental benefits, right? And so now we're just planting seeds, right? I never think that, oh, I'm going to send him an infograph over the email. He's going to call me back and say, hey, Renee, you know how I said my employees didn't need it? Well, you sent me this infograph and I read it. And oh my God, it opened my eyes to understand that my employees do need it. No, they're probably not even going to respond to it. But I'm planting seeds, right? Now they're getting to know me better. Now they see my name in their inbox. Renee Arriaga, Aflac. Oh, that was that guy that came in the other day, whatever. Now they're unconsciously they're getting to know me, right? And maybe he may or may not open that email, but he's going to appreciate that I at least took some time to send him some information. So now the next follow up might be a phone call, right? I stop by, I send him an infograph. Now I'm going to call him again next week and follow up. Hey, Mr. Business Owner, I hope you got my information. Just stop by. Like I said, I want to see if I can get on your schedule 10, 15 minutes. Like I said, I'll just give you a brief overview. What does your schedule look like? Right? And so maybe at that point, nothing. I'm not able to get in contact with him. Well, now we're going to do a survive drop. And this is where you're going to make it fun. Okay. I understand, guys. Prospecting is not the most fun thing you've ever done. I'd rather go to happy hour or go to have a nice steak dinner over prospecting any day of the week. But unfortunately, that is where the fortune is made in this business, is in the prospecting. Okay. So make it fun, and make it fun for yourself. Like, find a way to have fun doing this, right? If you're going to have to do it, if you're willing to do it to make your business successful, we might as well have fun with it. We might as well find a way to make it fun. Okay. And so for me, survive drops are a fun way to do that. Okay. And so what is a survive drop? So you think about all the salespeople that call on that business owner, right? Especially if it's a successful business that everybody knows about. I guarantee you that business owner has people calling on him every single day. Would you guys agree, right? There might be calling him about so many different things, right? About his internet, about his copier, about his whatever, right? People are calling on him to try to get his time. So you don't want to be just another salesperson calling on him. So you want to find a way to separate yourself from all the other salespeople. And a lot of people don't do this, right? And so you're going to get creative on this. And so you're going to do what we call survive drop. And so literally you're just going to go drop off an item for him. We're not even, unless he's right there or unless he's readily available, we're not even looking to talk to him on that day. We're just, and again, we've already planned out our day, right? Part one of this thing is plan and prepare. And so we've kind of already planned out our map, and part of that map includes a survive draw. So what are some of those? I had some of these on Monday for you guys to see. And so these are just some examples, right? So for example, you see payday. I bought some payday candy bars, right? And so literally you're taping a business card to that payday bar, and on the back I'm writing, are you looking for new ways to control costs on payday? Please accept my call, or please give me 15, 20 minutes how I can show you. And literally I'm gonna take that payday bar and I'm gonna go to the receptionist who probably already knows me, right? I've already spoken to her. I've already, hopefully, made friends with her. And by the way, when I have a gatekeeper, I always try to get her on my side, because think about this: as gatekeeper, she's an employee too, and so she wants benefits for herself as well, right? So why wouldn't she want what you're doing, right? And so now I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna say, hey, Miss Gatekeeper, Miss Receptionist, can you do me a favor? I know I have been trying to call Mr. Smith. He's been busy, but just wanted to stop by and drop this with him. Can you please just place this on his desk for him? So now he gets to his office, right? He has a candy bar. He looks at it. It's Eric Yang, who, oh, that's the guy that called me, emailed me the other day. Now he dropped me off something. Now you're gonna stand out in his mind because you know what? And I'll tell you the truth. I've been a coordinator in Aflac for 10 plus years. I have never had anybody. I have people come in talking to me about internet and talking about all these different services that they want me to, that they can give me a better deal on. I've never had somebody do a follow up with me that made me think, wow, okay, this is different. I guarantee you nobody's doing this, right? And think that it's corny, think that's whatever, but we are trying to separate ourselves from every other salesperson in this market. And so this is a super inexpensive way to do that. That payday bar will cost me what, a dollar at the dollar store, right? I probably get a few of them for a dollar. So look at some of these other ones. A bag of peanuts. I hope, Dean, my persistency is not driving you nuts. Again, do I expect him to get my bag of peanuts, get my business card, and say, "Oh man, this was so unique. I'm gonna go ahead and call Renee and schedule that meeting right now." No, hopefully it does, right? It might. I've had that happen, but we're planting seeds. We're planting seeds. They're getting to know me now. Again, people do business with people they know, trust, or like. Well, now you're getting to know me a little bit, right? And by the way, the pros in business, they appreciate and respect professional persistence. And so be professional, but be persistent. Okay. So look at some of these other ones. Look, a lotto ticket. You can get a lotto ticket for a dollar. I hope you're feeling luckier with this lotto ticket than I've been in getting an appointment with you. When I call again, I hope you won't tell me to scratch. And by the way, these are just ideas. I'm sure you guys could think of a lot cooler stuff than this. All right. Look at some of these other ones. Look at the jelly bean. It's been a while since I spoke to you. I'm still looking to get on your schedule for 10, 15 minutes. Right? They're getting to know you. Right now, when you're getting that fifth, that sixth follow up, well, man, this is the guy that, he called me, emailed me an infographic, brought me a payday bar. Now you're getting closer to being able to schedule that meeting. And you see some of those other ones on there. You can screenshot this. Of course, I'm recording this. Look at some of the ones that we had live in our office. And so you'll see. Look at the one with the lollipops there, with the green lollipops. Don't be a sucker. Add Aflac to your benefits package. A little lollipop, right? You'll see there's different ones, and you can leave some mints. Is your benefits package leaving you a bad taste in your mouth? Can you place this on his desk? Can you imagine if I have never done that, where I would walk up to my desk and I would see somebody's business card and such creativity in their follow-up process. I could tell you as a business owner, I would appreciate that, right? That's some gamesmanship right there. And so don't so now we're separating ourselves, right? And so after that, we're gonna maybe send them an industry article, right? Something non-related to Aflac that maybe helps his business. Again, but we're planting those seeds, right? He's and by the way, you're not doing this, you're not following up with him every single day, right? This might be again, I usually use a rule of thumb in that in the first 2 weeks, I follow up 2 to 3 times a week. And then week 3 and 4, I follow up once or twice a week. And then after week 4, I follow up once a week. Okay. And so after that, you might leave a spirit letter. I don't have the spirit letter on this slide, but we literally have a template already written out, and it's basically a letter where you're getting a referral from somebody else that says, "Hey, you should do business with Carolyn for this and this reason." And so we have a template laid out that you could also use as well to email or to drop off at somebody's office. And now it's not just Dean telling me how great his product, and now it's somebody else. If I'm working with air conditioning companies, I might take one of my existing clients in that industry, and now that business owner is seeing it's not just coming from me. Now it's coming from somebody that's literally doing business in the same space with him. And then so the next one is an in-person follow-up. Then we go back to a phone follow-up, and then we wash, rinse, and repeat. Right around this time, we might change the narrative a little bit. Right, maybe my infographic didn't get me anywhere, but now maybe we start changing a little bit. Now maybe we start sending him information on the value-added services. And by the way, not next week, but the week after, I'm going to talk a little bit more about value-added services. Hopefully, everybody knows what that is. If you don't, these are value-added services that we could offer to a business in which Aflac pays for 100%. And so one of them, for example, is called telemedicine. Right? Everybody's heard of telemedicine. We could actually offer telemedicine to our clients or our prospects. And what Aflac do is Aflac will pay for it 100% for their first year, and they'll have access to a doctor 24/7, 365 days a year, not just for them, but for everybody in their household. And so we could offer this as part of Aflac already, and they don't have to pay anything. So guess what, Mr. Business Owner? Not only can we offer you Aflac, but we also have this service called telemedicine that Aflac will pay for you. Where now, not only do your employees have access to Aflac, they also have access to a 24/7 doctor that could diagnose and prescribe medications through a FaceTime. And we have other value-added services aside from that. Any questions on any of this? I'll open it up a little for questions if anybody has.
Actually, you said for the telemedicine, it's only for the first year?
Officially, yes, but
Okay.
we know how to extend.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
you were playing. Sorry, boss.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah. See, the bigger accounts, usually about year 3, they'll start making you re-request it. But if you'll make sure in enrollments, everybody that you put in that either doesn't get a policy or turns down the other policies, you need to go in there and say declined accident, declined cancer, because that's showing Aflac that we're meeting everybody. And if we show them we're meeting, they'll re-up our telemedicine because we know that we're in there making the face-to-face.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else have a question?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So on the on the lead elevation on the spirit letter, so with us, being newbies, like we haven't worked with anyone yet, so I guess we would just skip that step, right?
I'm sorry. What do you mean? Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So it says on here, letter from
No.
one of your existing accounts stating
No. I mean,
why they should do business with you.
when you don't have a testimony, you piggyback off of other people's testimonies.
Yeah.
Okay.
from
Yeah.
my account. You can get it from
Yeah.
there. And yeah, this is district
Man,
manager. Yeah, they loved it over there. Robin's here. She's with us. They'll love it here too. Yeah, use me.
you piggyback of others' testimonies until you get your own.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, that there's and I will get you guys that template as well, that template letter so you could see. But yeah, I mean, if you don't have your own testimony, I mean, right, like I mean, I know for sure Amon, right, been in the business, several years, district sales coordinator. We've had we've been able to help people with our products and services, right? So we have testimonies of people that we've actually helped. And so, but when you're starting in the beginning, you might not even, you may not have even sold a policy. I don't know. I mean, I know you guys have, but you definitely don't have any claims that you paid out probably. And so if you don't have your own testimony of your own client, then just use somebody else's. Just ask me. And so it's one of the ways is to get a testimony from one of your existing clients. But you're going to see that template. It doesn't necessarily require you to get a testimony from somebody. You'll see what that looks like. I don't have it up here now, but I'll show you guys what that looks like. Any other questions that anybody else has? Anybody else? Any questions anybody has about anything? I'll kind of open it up here. I mean, it doesn't even have to be on lead elevation or prospecting. Any other questions that you guys have that I could answer?
Renee, I got a question.
Yeah.
So once a year, we're all required to do like an annual compliance training. It lets us keep our writing number, right? So is that something that's due soon, or how can I find out, or the compliance training?
Yeah.
That's the only obligation we have, right?
Yeah. So
in terms of compliance.
I think, Dean, you're probably the only one on here other than myself and Amon that have been with Aflac more than a year. But if you got contracted January 1st of 2024 or after, you don't have to do it. If you got contracted prior, then you have to complete that course. If not, you will get terminated. Okay. And I can show you guys real quick how to find out if you need to do it. Because I know like Carolyn, Dean, you guys were reinstated from years ago. And so it'd be good for you guys to go back and double check that. So let me show you where to go. You guys see my screen?
Mhm.
Yeah. I kind of have trouble because I see all these different things on my screen here. Okay. So yeah, so you're literally just gonna come to Field Force Services, okay? And you're gonna come to Train and Resources. And if you go to your Academy Connect, let me log in here. All right, it's thinking. Oh. All right. Any other questions in the meantime while we get this? I'm not sure what happened here, so let me.
I have a question. Another
Yeah.
one. Do we have like any email templates? Like, like if we make like a phone call or something and they give us an email address for the contact where there's a template that we that has been successful for people to use that you may get a call back or you may get a email back on or something like that?
As far as I know, and maybe Eamon, I don't know if you've seen anything different, but there isn't anything that's client. I mean, you might want to ask around other agents as to what they use, but it's hard to measure that because emails for the most
Yeah.
their success rate is so small, And so here, and I'll let Eamon answer. He might have somewhere where you can go, or he might have a template. But here's what I'll say about email: is that email, I never email anyone expecting anything from it. In other words, if somebody calls me, if I call somebody and they tell me, "Oh, well, yeah, can you email me something?" Well, I'm not going to tell them, "No, sorry, sir, we don't email stuff. Like, I need to actually meet with you in person," right? I'm not going to tell them that. And so if somebody asks me, like, "Hey, can you email me something?" I'll say, "Yeah, I'll email you something." So I'll, what's your email address, whatever. I'll email you. I say, "Yeah, I'll shoot you that email today, and then I'll check back with you next week." I never send them an email without setting the expectation that I'm going to call them back or follow up with them, because the mistake that agents make, and I'm not sure why it's not letting me log in here. The mistake that a lot of agents make is that they send an email thinking that they're going to get a reply, or that the business owner is going to read it. The odds are they're not going to read it, and the odds are they're not going to answer it. But I send it because they're asking me to. And what do I send them? I'll usually send them, "Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate you taking time to take my call. Here's the information that you asked me for." I'll attach like a product overview, and I'll say, if I'll check back with you next week if you have any questions. But I always set the expectation that I'm going to follow up with them. So I never send it thinking, "Oh, well, hopefully they'll call me." I send it just because they asked me to send it, right? And I'm planting a seed, but I'm going to follow up with them next week. And so, but going back to your question, I don't know if there's an actual template. I don't know if, Eamon, you have one or you've seen one that maybe is more general that agents can use.
Well, you can type up a general industry email and do it that way. But Renee is right. I mean, the responses that you're going to get from an email are probably a little bit less than that you're going to get from a phone. But so I like what you said. That works for you, Renee. And I get people when I meet with a DM, they do. A couple of them say that, "Oh, well, just email me some stuff," and I kind of make a joke out of it. I say, "Well, just make sure that your printer is full of paper, because there's a ton of stuff. But I tell you what, you can give me 5 minutes next week. I'll condense it all down for you." And usually that works. But yeah, that's something like if you're gonna get an email and they just have to email it, absolutely say, "I'm gonna follow up Tuesday and we'll talk about that."
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
what about like if you send it, like, let's say, well, I haven't had the send me the email, email me some information. I've gotten like where I've called them and the person that they say is the contact is not available, but they give me their email address. I'm saying in that instance, would you send them an email, or because you haven't talked to them yet, or would you?
No, I'd go person.
Well, I will continue the follow up, but then at some point I will use the email as part of my follow up process. But that's going to be like my fourth or fifth option. That's not going to be like my immediate option. If I call them, they give me their email address, I'm still going to go visit them on the next follow up, and I'm still going to continue down that process. And then at some point, yeah, I might send them that infographic to their email, but it's just part of the follow up process. And the other thing I'll tell you guys about emails is don't waste all your mental energy on trying to figure out, well, what do I put? I want to make sure, trying to write the perfect email, because trust me, the likelihood that they're going to read the email is low, and the likelihood that they're going to respond to your email is even lower. And so I wouldn't spend much of my mental capacity trying to write the perfect email. If they ask me for me email, I'm just going to send them just that, "Thank you for taking time to talk to me. Here's the information that I promised you. I'll check back with you next week." And so literally I'm just planting a seed. I want them to see my name in the inbox. They might not even open my email, but now they've gotten a call from Rene Arriaga. They've gotten an email from Rene Arriaga. I've stopped by, left a business card. Now, even though they don't know me yet, they're getting to know me just based on the follow-ups that I'm doing. And so I wouldn't waste a lot of time on it. But yeah, I mean, I just keep it simple. I would, if they ask me to send them an email, I send them an email, but with the expectation that I'm going to follow up with them, and that they're probably not going to read it, and they're not going to call me back because of my email. So going back to your question, Dean, If you're on Academy Connect, and this goes for any of you, if you're brand new to Aflac in 2024, you don't need to worry about this. But if you're unsure, because I know like Ireland, you're a reinstatement, Dean, you're a reinstatement. If you go right here to the little hamburger, you click on it. You click on me, and you click on your plan. If you need to do it, it's literally going to pull it up right here. And so all of the ones that you need to do will be here. And so mine's not here because I already completed it, but yours will be, if you click on the plan, it'll be there. And so you see mine are already done. So you go to the hamburger. You go to yourself, and then you just click on the plan.
Perfect. Thank you.
And then also make sure that you, and write this down, make sure that you guys download the application Edcast. 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 What Edcast is it is the app that connects to Aflac On Demand right here. So if I go to Aflac On Demand, check it out. I'm going to have all these training videos that I can do. So I just come here, Aflac On Demand. And so literally what you're about to see on here, you're going to see it on Edcast, okay? When you log into Edcast, and write this down as well, it's going to ask you for a username. The username that you're going to use is admin@edcast.com. admin@edcast.com. That's what you're going to use to log in. And it's literally going to take you into all of these different training videos that you can learn. Right? If you haven't already completed national onboarding, that's the first place you should start right here. And so you'll see, you'll see for other ones for DSCs, you'll have access to DSC Leadership Academy, Cancer Refresh. You're going to have so many different types of trainings on here, right? You want to learn about how to open new accounts. It's all there. Any other question anybody has? Anybody have any other questions? Okay. So let me go back to my slides here.
Hey, Renee, I don't have a question, but I have just something I want to add.
Yeah.
So can you guys see me on camera?
Is it safe to add this or not?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I want to make sure. I don't want you to scare our audience, Dean.
No. This is not scary at all. This is going to help everybody. So I have this Word document. I hope you can see it. It's got like the bare bones minimum items of information that we need to collect from the DM so that we have enough information to open an account. And then I have like 12 lines here. That way I can remind myself to follow up 12 times with whoever I'm contacting. It makes me, kind of forces me to do it and write it down, So anyway, I'll put this for everybody on band later on today.
Yes.
So,
Your coordinator has a DM conversation sheet that has all of that and a whole lot more for you to just fill in. The market already got it ready for us. I've got a copy I can drop there.
perfect.
Just drop it, Dean, right? Because it might be different. It might work for that one. Might work better for some, better than the other one. So just share it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Dean. Okay, so let's wrap this up as far as lead elevation, right? And so what I want you guys to have as the biggest takeaway today is just the follow-up, right? So that initial contact, those first few contacts, that's just the beginning, right? And so now what we're doing is, whether you're reaching out in person or over the phone, now all of those initial contacts are going into the follow-up process, right? And so now we talk often about planning and preparing, right? We continue talking about planning and preparing. And so part of that planning and preparing is the follow-up process, right? And so if you can plan your prospect around the follow-up, it makes life easy, right? So again, I spoke about this last week, right? So let's just say that I do 100 approaches. I did 100 approaches this week. Well, now you're going to start separating them, right? Some of them are going to go in a bucket where it's like nobody answered, nobody was available. I'm going to follow up. I don't know. I don't know if they are even a prospect right now. It's just a lead. Then I have another bucket where it's like, okay, I find out who's the person to talk to, when they're available. I have some intel on them. And then you're going to have another bucket where maybe they showed some sort of interest, right? Maybe the business owner came on the line, or you met with the business owner. He said, you know what, I'm interested, but right now I'm not available. Call me next week. So now that goes into the other bucket. So you have hot, warm, cold, right? And so now what I'm going to do is, and if any of you, I know Robin, we were talking about fanatical prospecting, right? That's a great book, Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blunt. So in fanatical prospecting, when he talks about who are the first people that you want to call on when you start your day? Well, the ones that are closest to buying, right? And so I'm going to take anybody in that hot bucket, and I'm going to plan to go visit them in person, right? And there might only be a handful of those, right? And then I'm going to take the ones in my warm bucket, and I'm going to plan on visiting those in person. And I'm going to start, again, separating them into parts of town, right? Because I don't want to go from Fort Worth to Dallas to Arlington to follow up with people. I want to group them in areas. And so wherever you're going to be in that particular day, I'm going to look through all my warm leads, which ones are in Dallas, right? Or wherever I'm going to be working, right? Or I'm going to be, you name it, right? If I'm in Fort Worth, wherever I am. And now I'm going to, I should already have the address, especially if I approach them in person. And now I'm going to go follow up with them, and I'm going to make a trail map. And so I'm going to stop at this one first, then I'm going to stop at this one, then I'm going to stop at this one. And while I'm visiting those in person, now I'm four corner marketing whatever in the area or whatever's on the way. And so now every single week, you're having the opportunity to not just follow up, which is exactly what we went over today, but now all of that in that area is going back into your sales funnel here, right? You're putting more leads in here, which means you're going to have more follow-ups. And so all of those follow-ups are breeding offsprings, right? And so now you're getting more leads to call on. And so you should, if you're doing this consistently and you're doing it and you're planning and preparing correctly, you should have no problem getting to your 20 approaches per day. It should be very easy, especially once you have plenty of follow-ups to do. And so the better that you get at your follow-up system, the more appointments that you're going to get, the more opportunities you're going to give yourself to open accounts and to start building your book of business, right? Again, you're now a professional. If you want to make a career out of Aflac, if you want to get out of your Uber job or your part-time job that you have right now, the fastest way to do that is to become a pro, right? When you become a pro, now you're not just doing guesswork. You're literally following a process, right? You're playing your odds. And if you can do that consistently, and the key is consistently, because I can find people that can do it 1 week, or I can find somebody that can do it 2 days. But can you consistently be a professional and do it every single day? Every single day. You think about a professional, right? I don't know what you think in your mind when you think of professional. For me, I think about a pro athlete, right? Whether it's a basketball player, NBA, NFL. Well, let's just say that you're an NBA player. Well, I'm a professional, right? It means that I need to be a pro, right? So that means that I need to continue improving my game. My diet has to be on point. My schedule has to be on point. All of those things have to be in order because I'm a pro, right? If I'm not a pro, then that means that my schedule's all over the place. I eat like crap. I end up going out every single weekend or whatever. That is not a pro. A pro is a professional in that you're disciplined in doing the things that you need to do every single day, day in and day out, even when you don't feel like doing it. Right? And so what does that look like for you? The faster that you can become a pro at this, the faster you will get you will get to where you want to go or out of where you currently are. Because I know a lot of you guys still have a part-time job, and that's okay. but you need to figure out how do you become a pro and do exactly what you need to do every single day to get you out of your situation. Nothing changes if nothing changes, right? We've talked about that. So if you keep doing the same thing every week, you're gonna keep getting the same thing every week. So what are you gonna do to change it? So, all right, guys, we're almost at time here. I'm gonna end it with our leadership lesson here. So, so here it is. So sometimes success, and hold on, let me. I can't see my screen all the way. Anyway, sometimes success is just hanging on when others let go, right? And so, I've shared this with you guys plenty of time if you've been around, right? The only genius thing that I've ever done in my career was that I just kept on going. I met so many people that came up with me in the business that had way more talent than me, were better looking than me, more charismatic than me, better spoken than me, better dressed than me, better everything than me. And the only thing that I did that was better than that they did was that I just kept on going. And trust me, I quit plenty of time. Plenty of times I decided, you know what, I'm going to go do something else. I'm tired of getting rejected, but I slept on it and I came right back the next day and I shook it off. And so part of success for you guys is just going to be to keep on going, right? You guys can see there's 9 people in the chat, and this is going to continue to grow. But just look around. Are you going to be here a month from now? Are you going to be here a year from now? Well, it depends on, are you going to hang on or are you going to quit, right? Obviously, it helps if you can apply all of the things that we just talked about and that we talk about every week. But sometimes success is just hanging on when others let go. That's really the only key to my success was I just kept going. And when I kept going, guess what? My skills got better. My presenting got better. That the prospects finally ended up closing, right? I finally ended up getting ahead. And so all of those things start to fall into place. But what happens is that most people quit before they even give themselves that chance. And so for you, you need to figure out how do you hang on, right? Because the reality is that you have rent to pay, you have a mortgage to pay, you got a car to pay, you got all these different bills. And so how do you need to figure out how do you stay in the game and be able to hang on long enough to where you eventually turn the corner and start to see some success. And the reason that people don't make it is because they end up quitting. Here's what I'm going to end this with. And so listen to this, okay? Successful people make decisions quickly and change their minds slowly. Unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and change their mind quickly. So think about that, right? People have the opportunity to start a business, right? To get into Aflac. And, I have some people who, man, they have the opportunity to join Aflac and they think about it, they sit on it. The longer they sit on it, the less action they take. And if they do ever take action and say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get my license, go ahead and doing this, the minute it gets hard, boom, they're gone. And so unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and change their mind quickly. Successful people, though, they make a decision quickly that I'm going to do this. And they're very slow to change that because they believe that they can do it. And so they begin to change and adjust and adjust and adjust. And so they make the decision quickly that they're going to go ahead with this, but they're very slow as opposed to the unsuccessful in quitting and changing their mind. And so just think about that, right? Successful people make decisions quick and change their mind slowly, when unsuccessful people make decisions slowly and change their mind quick. So where do you fall, right? Are you going to be successful or you're not? And this may or may not be the place for you, right? But what I challenge you to do is that if it is not the place for you, make sure that you leave no stone unturned, that you did everything in your power to be successful. And if it wasn't meant to be, it wasn't meant to be. So We are at, we're a little bit over an hour. I appreciate you guys. Monday morning, we're gonna have a guest speaker in. He's not gonna be in the house. He's gonna be in the house virtually. He's out of San Antonio, Texas. He's the #1 agent from the market that I came from in South Texas or Texas South. You know, pretty awesome guy. He's like in his late 60s, kills it week after week, quarter after quarter. He's got his system as to what it takes to be successful in this business. He's going to be our guest speaker at a Monday morning mastermind. So I encourage all of you guys to be here. There's going to be a lot of nuggets dropped on Monday. And again, at the end of the day, that's all we're looking for is nuggets, right? You're not going to be able to take the 20 ideas that you learned today and apply them to your business, but you're looking for those 1 or 2 nuggets that you can apply that change the trajectory of your business. So thank you guys. I love you all. Have an amazing, amazing weekend, and come ready to go on Monday. So thank you all. If you guys need anything, call me, text me. But enjoy your weekend, enjoy your day. Thank you guys for being on here. Appreciate you guys.